Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Ali Moreno, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol. Frank Leboeuf is also with us, of course. 8 Champions League games today. I think, without a doubt, the standout result was in Paris. PSG beating Real Madrid by 3-0. We'll talk about PSG maybe a bit later on, Craig, but the big story here surely is how terrible Real Madrid were.
Real bad. I mean, properly hammered into the ground, particularly in the middle of the park. All the big stars were still there, and it was about cajoling and getting the best out of them and managing them and keeping them happy and then getting the structure. This is a different ball game altogether, and he has got a huge job in his hand.
Just a reminder, PSG had no Cavani or Mbappe. They're both injured. Neymar suspended as well. Yet this could have been so much more than 3-0, Stevie. Madrid were that poor.
And that's the surprising thing. You know, Real Madrid defensively haven't been great in their own league, but tonight they were absolutely atrocious. You know, and I'm somebody who, yes, you can look at the middle of the park and they were horrible, and they didn't stop anything from getting to the back line. But as a defender, there comes a time when you have to do your job, and not one of them did it. I mean, you talk about not making a challenge, you talk about not stepping out, you talk about dropping too deep. I mean, you name it, they got it wrong. I mean, every decision they made, the starting positions. I mean, I could go through A to Z of defending, and they got this wrong tonight. And I'm talking about people like Varane, who you expect to be the leader back there. Militao was embarrassing, in my opinion, but Varane wasn't far behind him. And Courtois, I don't remember the last time this guy made a save that actually meant something. So, looking at that team, there's not one thing that you can be positive about. Not one single thing.
You look at that 11, on paper, that's a good team, isn't it?
Yes, but that's the thing that we just have to get used to with this version of Real Madrid. It doesn't matter what the names are. It doesn't matter the uniform that they're wearing. You take that away, and this was the performance of a mid-table team that's struggling with administrative issues. They're not paying their players. There's turmoil in the front office. That's what they look like. A team that had their focus somewhere else other than out on the field. They did not compete. Never mind get close to somebody and try to tackle, what Steve was alluding to. They didn't even get close to try to challenge somebody. This was a good old-fashioned backside whooping where PSG was first to everything, second to everything, and third to everything. And then after that came Gareth Bale trying to make an effort and create an opportunity, which was really perhaps the only player that you could say maybe he was trying to do something out on the field that was useful. You take Eden Hazard, was he even playing? And we've already addressed the midfield. We already addressed the back line. And so you're thinking, well, maybe the attacking talent is going to take over. No, Hazard, never saw him in the game. Gareth Bale tried a couple of things, not so much. Benzema, nowhere to be seen. Overall, across the board, in every facet of the game, Real Madrid were very, very poor and nowhere near the level that you expect. This team did not compete, and they look disinterested.
First time in 564 matches that Real Madrid haven't had a shot on target.
Wow.
And you've got...
Well, they had 2, but they didn't count because they were correctly ruled out by VAR. Correctly. So he's not fit. But again, I'll go back to the point. You've got... And he's played more than... I mean, he's played this season. You've got Gareth Bale, who is not a happy camper in that environment, and the manager's not happy. We know he doesn't want him there. Same with James Rodriguez. And you've got Casemiro, who can't get around the field as he once did. You've got Hazard, who's not quite fit, can't help that. You've got defenders out, and then you've got to go... I'm with him. I'm not convinced with Courtois. I mean, I said at the start of the season, at the end of last season, I prefer Keylor Navas to table Courtois.
Who we could have played in goal today. Navas had that little to do. We could hear Frank Leboeuf in the background.
Was he playing conkers?
It sounded like he dropped something on the floor. Frank, we'll talk about PSG in a moment, but first, your take on Real Madrid.
Oh, I think it was really poor. I'm not surprised, in fact. I always said that Real Madrid, after winning all the trophies, especially the 3 times the Champions League, most players, they were at the end of a cycle. And from Florentino Perez and the coach who came straight after, Zinedine Zidane, they should have changed. I know it's difficult, but they should have changed half of the dressing room. to make sure that they had the motivation to keep on winning something. And in fact, when you see the players running, they don't have the stamina. They don't have any more character to go and fight. They're not, in fact, hungry enough to keep on working hard. And that's the main problem they have. Talking about the defense, Varane has always been in the shade of Ramos. And without Ramos, it seems that Varane is lost. And we saw that tonight. But what about the midfield zone? I mean, the players who are there, they really... well, nowhere near it. Comparing to Gay, Verratti, Marquinhos, they work so hard, they work their socks off, and they kill them in the midfield zone when you win the war, in fact. So very, very disappointed about Real Madrid, and in fact, not very surprised about it.
Zidane, Frank, has he got it with him in him to get this sorted? This is the lowest, this is without doubt the biggest challenge he has had during his coaching career. Can he turn it around? Has he got what it takes? Hopefully, yes. I want to believe that he will be able to change everything, but it's going to be a hard business. I mean, he wanted Pogba, he didn't get it. He didn't get him. I know he wanted to get Marcelo, keep Marcelo, Modric, and some others. But it doesn't work. He works with players that he doesn't want, like Bale, like James, like Courtois. But he wanted to get the job. I mean, sometimes, you know, he was very lucky in a way that he worked so hard that he got results. But it was positive the whole way. But now he has to maybe see the dark side of coaching and try to resolve all the problems. It's gonna be difficult, but hopefully for him, I wish him the best, and he's gonna do it.
If you wanted a clear picture of what this game was all about, and you didn't get a chance to watch it, just watch the third goal, where Bernat and Meunier playing.
And Meunier, there was three players. It was like watching the kids in the playground where they just go into the middle and ball watch, and it was popped around the corner, and then it was two against one. I'm surprised we've not seen Jose Mourinho's face somewhere already. Because, you know, with the pressure, and you know, being in Madrid, how quickly it can turn. This is very early, of course, but it will turn quickly if results go downhill, and he has been very vocal and out there, Mourinho, about his relationship with Perez and how he would one day love to go back there. And Zidane will know this.
Zidane's definitely misjudged this. You know, he's come back obviously thinking, right, I can sweep the deck clean and get a new Real Madrid. But what he's got in his hands now is players that he's brought in that don't look as though they're good enough, like Militao. You've got players like Ramos who are past their best, and then you've got players that don't want to be there, like Bale and James. So, you know, sometimes it's not actually... The coach can only do so much, but when you've got a group of players, when too many of them just are not interested, don't want to be there, past their best, how are you supposed to live up to the name of Real Madrid with a bunch of players like that?
But they don't want... They arguably don't want to be there because of him. He fostered that relationship... I don't know about Rodriguez, but James Rodriguez, but I know more about the situation with Bale. That was a personal thing between manager and player on his previous time there, when his first tenure. Comes back, Bale's still there, it's still a problem for him, and he was very open about it. He said, I want him to go. It didn't happen, and now he's got to go back and use him. So, you know, if he was going to be so public about it, then he had to make sure Perez was going to get Bale out. And as we know, because we discussed it, Gareth Bale and his advisor said, no, we will leave under our terms. So in some sense, he's fostered this, I'm not saying bad feeling, but, you know, this relationship within the dressing room.
We had no Isco, no Marcelo, Ramos suspended, no Modric. Is there an argument to say, well, you know, inevitably Real Madrid are going to struggle because they are missing those players?
No. Fine. Those are high-quality players. But none of those guys have been balling out. None of those guys have been playing very well. So, fine, you take those guys out of the picture. Well, what does that have to do with competing? What does that have to do with tackling somebody? What does that have to do with getting close to people? What does that have to do with defending? What does that have to do with actually winning something that matters on the field? In this game, they were nowhere near. I mean nowhere near. It's 5 yards away from PSG, every player on the field. Whereas Verratti, whereas Guy, whereas Marquinhos, they get close to the ball, they win in the ball, and they go in transition. There was nothing
that
about
argument
Real
doesn't
Madrid.
stack up because PSG's 3 best players, or the 3 front players, were out of the team. So, you know, there's no excuse for Real Madrid. It might be a one-off in this group stage, in this Champions League, this competition, but
They've got Sevilla at the weekend for Real Madrid, which will be a big test. Obviously, they start the season well. 12 minutes in, let's give some love to PSG, shall we, Frank? Obviously, it was doom and gloom going into this game, considering the absentees that we've already mentioned. But a great result, perfect performance. Angel Di Maria, star of the show.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was fantastic because, of course, as you said, the 3 stars, they weren't there, but the way they play together, and it's pretty rare in Paris Saint-Germain, where we see more individuals than a team working together. At the beginning of the game, I was really wondering why Tuchel wanted to put Marquinhos in the midfield zone and put Kimpembe as a central defender, but we saw the result. I mean, they worked so hard, the 3 midfield players, so Marquinhos, Gay and Verratti, to get the ball back, that it was obvious that it was a very good tactic from Tuchel. On top of it, you had Sarabia and Di Maria working very hard, Icardi giving his best, tactically working very, very well, and technically as well, giving the ball to Bernat on the first goal. So everything went perfectly for this squad because they worked together and they never gave up. So it's a perfect evening from a team who can have lots of hope if they carry on playing like that.
I thought Gay was superb today in midfield.
Well, it's a mismatch. You know, all you need to do is out-muscle, outrun and out-fight that midfield 3 of Real Madrid, and you've got 3 players in there who that's exactly what they're good at. And moving Marquinhos in there, again, was a great move. But for Di Maria to play the way he did, I mean, I'm sorry, I've criticised this guy all the way leading up to this Champions League, but today he showed he has real quality. You just wonder whether he's going to produce it often enough.
It was a good night for him to do it, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the space that he was afforded, and he took absolutely full advantage. But, you know, I don't want to rain on the fire, but it was a great performance. But this is what PSG do. This is what they do. They can produce some of the best performances. The Barcelona game, you remember, battered them. You know, Man United last year at Old Trafford, 11 players with cigars, then go home and bottle it. You know, this is what they do. Even with their big stars, they can produce the big performances. But somewhere down the line, unless they can prove us wrong, this team, when it gets to the nitty-gritty of this competition, are going to lose the stomach for the big game in the knockout. And people can say, well, it's not wrong, because history will prove in this competition that that's correct. So they have to find that consistency of that performance, not that one-off up-and-down roller coaster where they'll batter a big team and then fold in the second leg, because that ain't going to get them anywhere.
And the thing is, Frank, we'll only really know that towards the end of the season, won't we?
Yeah, we thought... We all know that it's going to be hard at the end of the season. Where will be Neymar? I mean, if he got injured again for the 3rd time in 3 years, it's going to be difficult to win something. But I think that, as Craig just said, that if they find the stability and the consistency that a club needs in terms of performances, they can go far because they have the talent for that. I mean, Steve was mentioning the last goal where the left back and the right back finishes the job, meaning that they can work hard, they can physically defend very well all together, and on top of it contre-attacking and giving what they showed us. So everything went perfectly well. How it's going to be during the season, we don't know, and how it's going to be at the end of the season, well, that's a big question mark, because of course the Champions League is it's only one team who can win it, and it's a more consistent team who's going to win it, that's for sure.
Right, what do you do when you know, when you think about how well that midfield operated with Marquinhos in there, who's really a defender but can play in there, and then you've got the 2 real workhorses in Verratti and Idrissa Gueye, and Verratti can pass the ball, and Gueye's tidy, but he's a worker. Then you're squeezing, how many we got out? 3 out, Cavani, Neymar and Mbappe. Sarabia will be out.
Yeah.
You got Icardi and then Di Maria. That's 5. There's
But they're going to be on the bench, aren't they? Did Di Maria and Icardi with that 3 in the midfield?
No, but he can't play like that in big games and then you turn to him and put him on the bench, can he?
Well, because what they'll do in Ligue 1 is they'll go back to what they do, is turn up sometimes and be out of this world, and then next week they'll be average as the day's long and win 3-0. And then all of a sudden they get a big game, then we're saying, well, hold on a second, why don't you play that 3 that he did against Real Madrid? But then you're just throwing 3 in that haven't played together for 4 months.
I mean, how are you going to do
that? How are you supposed to get a consistency?
I mean, you're saying Di Maria's out.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, Di Maria...
He always plays the big games, doesn't he, Di Maria?
Well,
Well, but Di Maria's been playing in Ligue 1 more of a central role, more as a midfielder, one of the middle 3, rather than a guy out in the wing or underneath the striker. So
Yeah, but to his point, though, when it comes to big games,
that's a
if
solid...
Neymar's fit, if Cavani's fit, if Mbappe's fit, if Di Maria's fit, then he's going to play them all.
Look,
And then that messes them up.
The one thing PSG have done at the crucial times in this competition, they've capitulated.
Yep.
So you need a solid base. Now, that 3 in midfield, whilst might not have the flair of Di Maria playing in there, is giving them tidiness on the ball without being overly ambitious, but it's giving you a defensive cover and it's winning you second balls, which they did tonight. Then you can try and balance out the 3 in front.
Yep.
And that's where you... So, listen, it might be a good problem to have. You've got 5. But you can't leave Di Maria out in form like that. So that means there's 2 of the other ones going to have to be left out. That's difficult to balance those guys with those big egos.
So PSG win. They are top of Group A. The other game finished in a stalemate, goalless, between Club Brugge and Galatasaray. Good game in Madrid. It finished Atleti 2, Juventus 2. Juve were 2-0 up. 2 late goals, though, for the hosts. Saw them take a point, and they deserved the draw, didn't they? Atleti, you could argue they deserved the win.
Yeah, I thought they were the better team. And the 2 goals, particularly the one straight after half-time from Cuadrado, was against the flow of the game, really. And particularly first half, they dominated Atleti and just couldn't get that goal. They were looked far better structure. We're strong, we're passing it around. Juve really didn't get anywhere. They might say, well, we're just sitting in and absorbing it up, but it was a frustrating 45 minutes, and then from nowhere, they got themselves a couple of goals, and all credit to Atleti, they didn't panic, and they got that late equaliser, and on another night, Simeone's men might have got the 3 points.
How do you assess this from a Juve point of view? Good point against a difficult opposition, or concerns how dominated you were?
I think you'd have to be concerned. You know, you'd have to be concerned.
They're fun to watch at the moment.
they are. But I don't know if Simeone is sitting on the silence. Oh, I want to be fun to watch. Oh, what do we do now? Because naturally for him, it just doesn't feel like that's the way he wants to play. And yet you have a guy like Joao Felix who goes on a long run. You say, goodness, there's something there. Yeah. And there's talent here and there, and they can create chances. And Vitolo comes off the bench, and Hector Herrera's coming off the bench. And it's a different personality to the team. And a team that now can come back from 2 goals down. No Atletico Madrid team from the past, and with Diego Simeone, would have been capable of that. At the very least, well, what he would argue is that, well, we wouldn't give up 2 goals either.
Exactly.
But this is Atletico Madrid now. As for Juventus, it's now becoming more symptomatic of their issues because they did give up 3 goals against Napoli. Mm-hmm. They did give up a lead then, and they gave up a lead today. And so, is this an issue going forward? It feels like it, because once you see it on back-to-back occasions, you're like, wait a minute, this is not just one night off. Defensively, we have problems.
Juve not the only team today to see a 2-goal lead slip. Spurs as well, drawing 2-2 away against Olympiacos in the earlier game today. Bayern Munich topped that group in Group B. Olympiacos be disappointed they didn't get all 3 points.
Spurs were poor. I mean, all right, 2-0 up, you think, well, we might be able to see this out away in Greece and we'll take the 3 points back. Great, because we haven't played well. That was the same, 20 minutes of domination from Olympiacos.
Mate, Spurs' perspective, how do you review this? Are you happy to take the point, or are you disappointed you're dominated by an inferior opposition, Stephen?
Listen, you're always going to be disappointed having been 2 goals up, but if you want to look at the performance, you've got to be happy you got something. Because I thought the way they dominated Crystal Palace, I thought the old Spurs was back at last. You know, they blamed the transfer window and Eriksen and all. They blamed everything apart from the fact that they were rotten on the field. I don't remember the last time I've looked at a Tottenham side and thought, they really just don't quite know what they're up to. They don't look as though they actually know how they're going to go about things. They look terrible defensively, which is something I thought their team was built on.
It's a bit like the Oscars, playing in the music to silence Stevie in Group C. Manchester City with a 3-0 win away against Shakhtar. A comfortable start for Pep Guardiola's side. Extra time.
Hey!
Hey! What a moment.
Beware Florida.
Yeah, watch out if you see him in Orlando wandering around. Make sure he stays safe.
In the rain. It's going to be raining.
Oh, I wonder how you'll cope.
Oh,
what are you going to do?
So what are you going to do instead?
Yeah, what are you going to do, Stevie?
I'm sure
Thank you very much, guys.
sure
Thanks to
I'll think
Frank.
of
Till tomorrow. Goodbye.